Thank you very much. You may be seated. Honorable Selma Ashipala Musavi, Minister of International Relations and Trade. Honorable John Julius Kamuzep, the Governor of the Great OTJOZONDJUPA region, is still great, Governor. The region is still great. Worship Councillor Julienda Kampungu, the Deputy Mayor of Otjiwarongo, all regional and local authority councillors present, as well as all political leaders that are present here. Mr. Aser Nashikaku, the Director of International Trade at the Ministry of International Relations and Trade. Mr. Francois van Schalkwyk, the Executive for Investments at the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board. Ms. Alexia Hoveka from NAMRA. Mr. Oscar Festus from the Ministry of Industries and Energy. Distinguished invited members of the business community, I see representation from Orongo Semen. If there are others also, please feel welcome. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I respond to a name called Rino Muranda, and I am responsible for stakeholder relations at the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board. This afternoon, I have the privilege of being the Director of Ceremony to ensure that we have a smooth facilitation of the program. Let me take this opportunity to also welcome our viewers online. This event is being streamlined on NBC TV. So I want to welcome our viewers online. The live streaming is made possible through a smart partnership between the Ministry of International Relations and Trade and the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC. We want to thank the national broadcaster for coming on board to ensure that no one gets left out from this engagement and that people are also able to follow these proceedings online, whether it's from the comfort of your house, workplace, or from the palm of your hand, from anywhere in the world. So why are we here? On the 30th of June, 2025, Namibia exported its first consignment under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement from our Walvis Bay port. This past Wednesday, the Minister of International Relations, in collaboration with the Ministry of Industries and Mines, have started with regional stakeholder engagements to sensitize the business community about the opportunities that are offered under the AfCFTA, Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. The first engagement took place in Swakopmund in the Orongo region, and this afternoon we are here in Otjiwarongo to engage our business people from this great region. We want to understand your challenges, pain points, and possibly hear your inputs on the type of support you will require to take advantage of this opportunity. Now, let me at this juncture indicate that the live streaming will only cover the open session up until the vote of thanks. After that, we will have to close the session and we'll excuse our partners from the media and then dive right into the closed session to discuss. So before we start, can I get an indication? We said it's business community from the region. Can I get an indication of who is represented here by show of hands? Business people from Otjiwarongo, by show of hands? Majority. Kalkveld? Anybody from Kalkveld? Okahanya? Thank you. Lone Ranger. Okakarara. Okakarara is here. Sumkwe. Otavi. Yeah, no, I wanted to mention Otavi last because I'm also from Otavi, so we saved the best from last. All right, so let us now, oh, Grootfontein, sorry. Grootfontein? Yes, Grootfontein is also here. Thank you very much. I almost forgot about Grootfontein. Now that we know who's in the room, let us get the ball rolling and request the worship, the Deputy Mayor of Otjiwarongo, Councillor Julienta Kampungu, for the welcoming address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director of Proceedings. Good afternoon. Honorable Selma Ashipala Mushavi, Minister of International Relations and Trade, OTJOZONDJUPA Regional Governor, Honorable John Kamusep, Chairperson of the Otjiwarongo Management Committee, Honorable Goddard Hoko, the Regional Constituency Councillor, Honorable Nekundi, our Regional Coordinator of Supper Party, Comrade Ims Namasep, Local Authority Councillors presence, Regional, OTJOZONDJUPA Regional Police Commander, Commissioner Philip Hengwa, and delegation, senior government officials, our esteemed CEO, Master Mberipura Ifitikeko in his absential, our esteemed captains of industry and business leaders, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, all protocol observed. Good afternoon. It is my distinct honor on behalf of the Municipal Council and the residents of Otjiwarongo to warmly welcome you all to our town. A very special and heartfelt welcome to you, Honorable Minister Selma Ashipala Mushavi, and your esteemed delegation. We are deeply honored to your presence. Your visit reflects a strong national commitment to inclusive trade growth and economic participation that reach all borders and trade. Meaningfully, partnership and investment in a higher potential sector like agro-progressing, logistic, and poultry, horticulture, manufacturing, and services. Today, I call on our local entrepreneurs, cooperative and business leaders to start looking beyond the borders. Let us identify the products and services that give us competitive edge to begin building the capacity and network to make them to wider markets across Africa. This is our time to connect Otjiwarongo to Africa's economic renaissance. Let us act with intention, think beyond our boundaries, and ensure that opportunities created by AfCFTA benefits every household, especially our youth, women entrepreneurs, and rural communities. Therefore, we can't make Otjiwarongo be driven a hub of opportunities resilience, and sustainable growth. And I thank you.
Can we show the Deputy Mayor that we feel welcome by giving her another round of applause, please? Let us make Ochivarango a hub of resilience. Those were her parting words. And let us do things with intention. That is what the first citizen of this town is saying to us. And we want to thank you very much for that. Next up is the first citizen of the region. So please help me to welcome our first citizen, Honorable John Kamusep, for his remarks. Thank you.
Director of Ceremonies, the Minister of International Relationships and Trade, Honorable Selma Ashipala Muzavi, Her Worship, the Deputy Mayor of Ochiwarongo, Julinda Gambungu, OTJOZONDJUPA Regional Council Acting CRO in absentia, Shikongo Alwentu, distinguished guests, all traditional leaders, business leaders, captains of the industry, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon. I'm a teacher by profession. Either you say it or you don't say it. Good afternoon. And all right, you know, I've been on feed for more than 2 hours. And this time around, I'm going to do my thing in 5 minutes. It is an honor and a distinct pleasure to be invited to the Ministerial Regional Business Engagement Meeting. And business people in my region also owe me a visit. And we are going to have our own governance engagement. I fully recognize the importance of role that the private sector is playing in the process of development. Private sector as the engine of economic growth, creation of employment opportunities, and the improvement of living standards of our people is very vital for any economy. Ministry of International Relationship and Trade has a role to create a conducive environment for investments and to provide necessary guidance to potential business people. It's also there to ensure that there is efficient and effective administrative and regulatory framework in place. Small and medium enterprises sector is playing a notable role in acceleration of economic growth and development in the country. We must expand our SME sector so that it can contribute meaningfully to the economic growth of our country. I know that many businesses are faced with many challenges in their daily operations. It is our collective desire to see a vibrant economy that is able to create jobs for the youth and most vulnerable groups of our society. We must bounce back with resilience after the COVID pandemic has nearly spiraled us downwards. The Ministry of International Relationship and Trade is there to assist with local and international trading. I believe that in order to grow, our businesses should reposition themselves to be able to complete and succeed in changing rate and economic environment. This meeting will teach you how to bring investment opportunities to you through capital, jobs, skills, and technology. Please grab this valuable information, what you are going to get, and expand your businesses accordingly. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely appreciate the efforts by private sector that assisted the government in trying to find opportunities and take away the load of the government and bring and inject much needed economic sectors into our society. May I vividly recall with joy how Woermannsbroek brought the beautiful shopping complex to the town of Otavi. It's just one of those beautiful things that I wish to see in my term of office. Let me applaud also Grootfontein municipality with Chinese investors that brought 200 houses in Grootfontein. Let me applaud the Kaya investment in Grootfontein that brought us a hotel complex and an accommodation facility of 24 rooms at the heart of the city of Grootfontein. The same Kaya group also are busy currently building a business block in Umuluga Township that will host Spar complex. The same to Choppies that also brought us an investment of a shopping complex in Umulunga Township. Equally so, the Tuligang investment that built 200 houses in Grootfontein. These are just some of the examples of investment that stimulate the growth of young towns. Ladies and gentlemen, now the reason of coming to the podium. Please allow me to introduce a person who was the first ever female permanent secretary, now executive secretaries. In June 2013, the person chaired high-level meeting at SADC in SADC Auckland on politics, defense and security. A powerful woman, she was served as a chair of the board of the United Nations Secretary General Advisory Board on Disarmament. She has held ambassadorial roles, including ambassador to Austria and Higher Commissioner to Nigeria, amongst other roles. And she was appointed as the Minister of International Relations Trade. And she is none other than Honorable Minister Selma Shipala Musavi. Comrade Minister, the podium is yours.
Thank you. Please, let's take our seats. Thank you very much, Governor. Director of Ceremonies, Governor of OTJOZONDJUPA Region, Honorable John Julius Kamusep, Your Worship, Deputy Mayor, Julianda Kampungu, and all the members of the High Table, captains of industries, business leaders, members of traditional authorities, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Very good. I hope you will agree with me that today was a special day. first of all, and that it is a day to remember. We just had a very encouraging, motivating, uplifting address by our President, Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah, talking about service delivery, the importance of delivering service to our people. And then barely 2 hours ago, the governor completed his first State of Regional Address. And here we are again, engaging on how to bring services to the people in the great OTJOZONDJUPA region. It's Friday afternoon, and the hall is full. So I really want to thank you for having made the time to come to this event. Deputy Mayor, thank you very much for the warm welcome to this great region. I have driven 1,000,000 times through Ochivarongo, but it's the first time that I'm actually coming into the city to engage. So I'm really grateful that I'm so welcomed. And what a beautiful city you have. Let me also, on behalf of my delegation, my colleagues from the Ministry of International Relations and Trade, from the investment arm of the ministry, and from the Ministry of Industries, Mines and Energy, to congratulate you, Honorable Governor, on your appointment as the governor of this great region. And also to congratulate you on your first SORA. Well done. And it's only thank you. In fact, it's only about 2 hours ago that you completed your first State of Regional Address, but you have made the time to be with us this afternoon. That's leadership. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are Namibians, but we are also Africans. And in the African tradition, when you are welcome into somebody's house, you still have to state the purpose of your visit. Therefore, it is with a great sense of gratitude that I again thank you for having allowed us to come and have this conversation. As we are all aware, the new administration of Her Excellency the President has made some changes. I think by now you know that the President has reduced the number of ministries, but she has also merged some of the ministries. And that's why today we have the Ministry of International Relations and Trade, as well as the Ministry of Industries, Mines and Energy. This is important for us to know, to understand, in order to know where to channel our requests. This measure was really to optimize the services, to bring together all the entities that are dealing with international trade. Now, for the Ministry of International Relations and Trade, our responsibility is to create market access for Namibian goods and services, for us to be able to sell to Zambia, to Botswana, to Nigeria, and beyond. But before our ministry can do that, somebody here must produce. And this is why we are here together with the Ministry of Industries. Now, in addition to merging some of the ministries to optimize output. The President has also made it categorically clear that our people are grappling with extraordinary challenges, especially the private sector, more particularly the MSMEs and the SMEs. Therefore, you have heard her talking about that it cannot be business as usual, meaning we cannot continue to do the same thing over and over again. We have to do things differently in order to get different results. And this is why we are here today. 2 days ago, we were in Erongo region doing exactly the same thing. And today we are here this afternoon in OTJOZONDJUPA region to engage the business sectors on the opportunities in this region for Africa and beyond. The governor has spoken about the role that the private sector plays. You are the pillar of our economy. Government only creates a conducive environment. You are the ones that are producing wealth. Hence, we need to work together to make sure that there is enough to go around. Government is responsible for making policies, but the policies must speak to your needs. And that's why we are here this afternoon. Now, I've spoken about increased market access. That is what we want to hear. In short, because what we really want to do is to hear from you, to give you a listening ear. What we are trying to do this afternoon with these consultations is to basically find out how the ministry can assist businesses. We want to hear your pain points. We want to know what are the regulatory hurdles that you are facing. Secondly, these consultations will also allow us to understand the challenges faced, especially by the SMEs. Challenges on reaching markets. Challenges on getting information, because information is power. And also challenges that applies to non-tariff barriers. But most importantly, this afternoon meeting is not just about challenges. We also want to hear what are the opportunities in OTJOZONDJUPA region. Opportunities that we might have overlooked. Every region, we have 14 regions. Every region has competitive advantage. So what sets OTJOZONDJUPA region apart from other regions? That is what we want to focus on. Now, let me take you back to what the governor said when he assumed office the first day. And I quote, because I lead a road, I follow what governors are saying. This is what your governors has said, and I quote, "We have to continue uniting as a region. Please assist me to identify potential for this region for us to achieve agriculture, food security, and economic prosperity," unquote. I know that today the governor has spoken about more than just agriculture. He spoke about manufacturing. He spoke about mining. We now need to ask, in that ecosystem of agriculture, what is it that OTJOZONDJUPA produces that we can use to access other markets? What are the difficulties in terms of getting your goods from point 1 to point B? Clearly, the governor has told us, as I said, what contribution this region can make to Namibia's economic prosperity. What we want to hear this afternoon again is to say what other products, what other goods and services can this region create market access for? What are the prevailing goods that are struggling for market access? If I can't give you the answer as the Minister of International Relations and Trade, surely I can knock at the right door for you. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying in so many words is that it's by working together that Namibia can succeed. And I am confident that working together as the two ministries, together with the other economic ministries, we can make our country to reach higher heights. In conclusion, I look forward to this conversation this afternoon, and I'm sure that we will continue to work together so that we can optimize the economic potential of this great region. Thank you once again, and I'm so happy that you made the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. I think the Honorable Minister has made it clear. If you have found yourself by accident in this room and you don't know whether the governor's State of the Nation, State of the Region address is still continuing or not, or maybe you just ended here by accident, now you know why you are inside here. Now you know what is the purpose of this engagement, and we look forward to those fruitful engagements. Next up is going to be a presentation by Mr. Aser Nashikaku to provide an overview of the framework. He will talk more and give you more meat around what this agreement and what are the opportunities that are there. Mr. Aser, sir, the opportunity is yours.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremonies or Proceedings. Honorable Selma Ashipara Musavi, the Minister of International Relations and Trade. Honorable John Julius Kamusep, Governor of the OTJOZONDJUPA region. Her Worship, Julianda Kampungu, Deputy Mayor of the Oshuarongo, regional and local councillors, members of the business communities, esteemed colleagues at the higher table, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually my pleasure to be here with you in order really to provide a snapshot of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. I'll quickly start so that we are able then to have time to engage, and I think I'm just going to have it short and we are able at least to view it. if you can see it up there. The outline really, I think the first part have already been done by the Honorable Minister, the mandate of the ministry. I will then just going to provide them the background on the AfCFTA and look at the coverage. What is that we are actually expecting to get from this particular agreement? Then the status of negotiations, status of the implementation by Namibia, benefit and challenges, and then we are also going to look at one of the protocol called the Protocol on Trading Services. The mandate, obviously, is market access, but the background, I think I should be able to go quickly on that one. This agreement is being negotiated by 55 member states of Africa. Of course, there is only one member or state party that have not yet signed on this particular agreement, Eritrea. And this actually agreement is aimed at creating a single market for goods and services. Where are we coming from? This agreement was then signed on the 21st of March in 2018 in Kigali, Rwanda. However, Namibia signed this particular agreement on the 2nd of July 2018. And then we went to ratify it on the 25th of July 2019. And then for you to be able then to operationalize this particular agreement, we needed now to gazette the offer on the 20th of December last year. And that gazetting only represents 90% of the tariffs of the goods that we are actually trading with. Now, this agreement entirely have entered into force in 2019, but trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area was actually officially launched on the 1st of January 2021. That is actually the reference point. Where are we? We have started to cut duties from that particular date. What are the objectives of the AfCFTA agreement? Create a single market of goods and services, and to deepen economic integration of the African continent. Create a liberalized market for goods and services across the continent. But of course also to promote industrial development. Why the AfCFTA? Number of issues have been recognized, really, that Africa have not been trading with itself as much as we wanted to. We were at between 50 to 18% that Africa is actually trading with each other. And at current, probably we are between 17 to 18, still low. The trade that is happening within Africa between ourselves. We are trading with a third party much more. 65% trade within the European countries, how they are trading with each other, and about 50 to 55% in Asian countries. Now, again, the question is, why the AfCFTA? Africa trade in goods faces higher tariff within the continent. These are just words. What is tariff? It's actually what you are actually paying at the border. You bring your goods, and the government tell you, can you pay maybe a 20% on the value of what you are bringing in? Those are duties, those are tariffs. If it is high, it's making it actually impossible for businesses actually to trade because it's expensive. Create a larger free trade area by a number of countries, of course 54 signatories as I've mentioned earlier, whereby at least a number of African countries are now starting now to ratify. We are now at 49 ratification. Only few member states are left to ratify. You have to ratify, and then you also have now to explain how you are going then to be part and parcel of this particular big family. A population of over 1.2 billion people can actually be able to be opportunity for you to be able to have more or to trade much more. Combined gross domestic product of 3.5 trillion US dollars, which is going to translate into 4.2 trillion US dollars by 2027. Growing middle class and disposable income. These are actually the reasons why the AfCFTA. In terms of coverage, what is that we are actually expecting in terms of coverage? In fact, the negotiations are actually focusing, or at least have focused, on the protocol on trading goods. These are goods that we are producing and selling. Cement, apple, bananas, all those type of products, and also some of the other manufactured goods. Protocol on trading services, this actually governs trading services such as maybe transportation, financial, and communication services. You have the protocol that then governs, or at least is trying to deal with the rules and procedure for the settlement of disputes. Sometimes a country might not want to comply with what have been agreed upon. This will be the guiding protocol. And then there is a protocol investment, protocol in intellectual property rights, protocol on policy, on competition policy, protocol, which is very much important, protocol on women and youth in trade, and then you have then the protocol on e-commerce. This is what the legal instruments of the AfCFTA is actually covering. Now, what have Namibia done so far since we started with the negotiations? And where are we? The implementation at the national level, at least Namibia first and foremost have then gone ahead to establish a document, or to produce or to develop a document that we call the Implementation Strategy and Action Plan. This one will guide and drive implementation of the AfCFTA agreement nationally. This document was then also launched in November 2022. And we went ahead to constitute an AfCFTA National Implementation Committee to spearhead the implementation of the AfCFTA agreement at national level. And this committee then comprised of a number of stakeholders, almost private sector, academia, civil society, youth, women organization as well. It's only when all of everybody is actually involved and participate that Namibia will be able then to benefit from this particular agreement. What are the potential opportunities for Namibia? New markets. We have now at least a new markets. Usually we have our own traditional markets. We are able now to open up so that we can have variety of markets within Africa. New export opportunities, widen economic space for Namibian industries. Think much more recent for us now to be increasing our production capabilities and be able to develop industries because now we have a larger market. But we also wanted to eliminate trade barriers to trade. Of course, we know they are still there, but we have to continue addressing them. Access or connection to regional and continental value chains for Namibian manufacturer. We should be able then to get also cheaper materials within Africa and add value to those particular goods that we don't produce in Namibia and be able then to supply them in the continent at large. The potential opportunity, obviously, I think the most important, or one of the most important sectors of the economy is the SME. And we believe that with this agreement, they could be better integrated into the continental economy, then to accelerate women and youth empowerment if we implement it properly. Opportunities for foreign direct investment is also one of the opportunities that is actually available. We can not only talk about the good things all the time. Sometimes good things also come with some challenges. But the good thing is we should be able also to deal with those particular challenges that we may be able to experience. countries have different, are at different economic levels. We know South African economy, Egypt's economy, Ghana's economy, Nigeria's economy is much more bigger economy than Namibian economy. And that goes together with the second part, which is the high competition. They will be able to provide serious competition in terms of our competitiveness. But we should be able to deal with that. We should also be able to anticipate goods coming into Namibia and be able to compete with our own goods. We should be able also to be prepared to deal with that as well. We have also recognized or identified limited financing, particularly to SMEs. And the last part probably is that the duties, when goods are coming to Namibia, is going to be less and less. And therefore, probably from the government perspective, the collection of revenues might be limited. We will have an opportunity really to discuss this particular agreement in much more broader sense, but I want to come really towards the conclusion by just highlighting the following. The question is, which countries can Namibia start to trade with today under this, what we call a preferential trade arrangement? At current, I have provided there with a link. There are 15 countries. Let me, if I put them together with the EAC, Eastern African country that have submitted just one gazette. It could be about 23 countries. Those ones are ready to trade as of today. But we continue to see a number of gazetting happening, so we are expanding so that we are able then to reach about 54 countries that have so far signed this particular agreement. But for now, those who met the legal requirements are about 15 to 23 countries in Africa. So the market access is open there. In terms of those that have then submitted an offer that was actually already adopted, and those that have then ratified, is about 49 countries in Africa. The link is there. You'll be able to get this particular link and be able then to look at each and every country that is actually participating already. But there are also important tools that can actually assist traders and exporters to get much more information. The first one that have been captured the last is e-tariff book. If you go to this particular link, you'll be able to see what is the applicable duties in Africa? How much are you going to be charged? Of course, we are now at the 5th year of tariff reduction. And by 2029, 2031, we'll be able to see that most of the tariff of goods that are produced in Africa will then be at zero. The animal that we are actually dealing with that is actually hampering trade among Africa is what we call the non-tariff barriers. And these non-tariff barriers, there have been a tool that has been developed. We call it a non-tariff monitoring and evaluation mechanism. So there is that particular tool. For example, if you go to a country that is participating and you find that you are actually getting unnecessary barriers to trade, you can actually report it through this particular link. And member states will have then to come together to see how best they can then resolve those particular barriers to trade. Some of the countries will say, for example, a cement. We don't accept a 50 kilogram of cement in our country, but such a country, if it's part and parcel of the AfCFTA, they should comply. We just have to check whether they have ratified, they have also have their offer. We should be able to go and discuss with them and tell them you are not in compliance, be in compliance so that this trade can happen within Africa. Lastly, probably not only to talk about goods only, just to touch with the last slide on the trade in services. These have been negotiated. There are different sectors of trade in services. But what have been completed now within Africa is the financial services, communication services, tourism, transportation, and business services. But the continent have continued also to start negotiating others, health services, education services, and other services as well. To date, 24 schedule of specific commitments have been adopted, including Namibia. In other words, we have submitted our regulations, what it means if you want, for example, to come and establish a 5-star hotel here, or you want to come and bring a law services here. So we have submitted as well. We are part and parcel as Namibia, but so far it's only 24 countries in Africa, and we continue to negotiate and also to allow other state parties also to do the same. So we'll expect the development and the launch of the AfCFTA Trade and Service Portal to be online so that we know the regulations, applicable regulation. If I want to export trade in services or to, like maybe communication services, what is that it means? What is the requirement applicable in Nigeria or in Angola, for example, or in Ethiopia, for example? With that, thank you very much. I think this is my last slide. We are open for questions when the time comes. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We can give him another round of applause, please. I think you have an understanding now about how this one is going to work. What are the possible opportunities? What are your causes for recourse if you need where to go? Once again, I want to remind you that we are live streaming this engagement, and I want to express our appreciation to the national broadcaster for coming on board to make sure that we can take this message to all the corners of our country. Next up is the presentation by Mr. Francois van Schalkwyk about the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board in terms of the service offering. Mr. Francois.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you briefly about what NIPDB does, but also talk a little bit about the economy and, of course, in particular in a community like this, the role we can play and really ought to play in the economy. Before I start, Master of Ceremonies, allow me to observe previously said protocols, but again, thank you to the Honourable Minister for her invitation. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to kick off, unfortunately, with the bad news. I think we all know that there are a number of challenges that our country face. We have very high unemployment. We have very high, incredibly high socioeconomic inequality, and almost half of Namibians are either monetarily or multidimensionally poor. It is a huge crisis, and I believe also that's why the Minister is here today. So when we look at the formula, and I don't mean to make it an economics lesson, so I'll go through it quickly, but I want you to understand where we're coming from. So when we look at GDP, which is the total value that a country produces annually, typically there are 5 factors that are considered. So it's personal and public consumption, then government expenditure, private-public investment, exports, and then less imports. In other words, the net of those two amounts. So we know that, and I think the Minister mentioned, and also Her Excellency mentioned during the speeches today, that government expenditure is quite restricted. So we know that, like before, we don't have the fiscal space to significantly invest to drive the economy as we did before. The other point worth making is that we also know that many of us, many Namibians, have a lot of personal debt. And when we look at the data that the Bank of Namibia released earlier this year, then we definitely know that personal spending, and unfortunately it's the same for public institutions, that consumption, they won't be drivers of the economy. But we do know that public investment and private investment continue to flow, and we've seen from the efforts government and NIPDB has made over the last 4 years, we've seen some of the early successes now realizing. And then, of course, like the Honourable Minister and also the Governor spoke about how important local production is and how we need to support the government and our economy by really driving exports. In other words, producing goods and services that we can export. But we have a dynamic country and a dynamic population. And as we can see from the two graphs above, our challenge and our opportunity lies in our population numbers. We have a very young population, many well-trained or educated. And the question is, how do we leverage that benefit now to get these young people into jobs and for them to be productive members of our community and contribute towards the economy? So when we look at employment numbers, so this is slightly old data, but just to illustrate the point, we have very few people in formal roles. In other words, 1 out of 8 people are in formal roles, whilst we see that the ideal across the continent is 2.5 are in formal roles. So that obviously creates a situation where when you're in informal employment, you have more readily access to credit. And in other words, it also helps us to not only drive the economy, but also help us to sustain our lifestyle. The third point around employment in particular that's important is that if you look at the 2 boxes at the bottom left, it is government employment and SOE employment. If you add those 2 numbers together, it's about 110,000 jobs from the private sector. And when we look at the middle box with the circle around, we'll see that the private sector, in other words, private companies and enterprises, approximately 140,000 people are employed in the private sector. When we look at other countries, other successful economies, that gap is much bigger. So we typically have more people employed much more people employed in the private sector, and fewer people, of course, in terms of the relationship between the 2 numbers in the public sector. The challenge with that is, of course, that we rely on government expenditure to drive the economy, and hence we need more companies. I think to add on to what the Minister said about MSMEs and small enterprise, it is really one of the key and the foundational efforts that we need to make in order to grow our economy. So a last interesting fact, and then we'll move on to more practical things. So when you look at these numbers, FDIE is a company or an enterprise which was started from foreign direct investment funding. In other words, investors put up that company. So we can see from the 140,000 138,000 people employed, 62 or approximately 62,000 if you look at the 2023 number. So it's a little bit more than 40% is employed by companies that are foreign-owned or partially foreign-owned. So I think it's an important note to make. So when we look at the role of business, and in particular why it's important for this mission, the private sector is vital for employment creation, like we said. It's important for us to empower individuals and communities, and in particular raise living standards. It also plays a crucial role in supporting government services and creating a favorable environment for businesses to thrive in. But we also need to accept that there are a number of role players in this environment, and we all need to accept our roles and responsibilities. We need to empower each other and to play our respective roles, and then of course collaborate for the sake of our families and our children in particular. And I think here is the gist of it. Local businesses are the country's primary investors, and they're very important for our economy. Local businesses de-risk an economy because we rely less on external factors, and external factors, for example, when we look at financial crises in other countries, as well as if you look at the recent trade and tariff wars, the more we produce locally, the less it affects us. So it creates it makes for a resilient economy. And then, of course, government can only invest and spend what it collects in taxes or what it can borrow. And so I think the Minister will agree with me that we also trying to very carefully manage our government debt. And so to that effect, if we have more businesses that operate in our economy, the government can rely on more taxes to support not only basic goods and services that they buy from the economy, but really support the communities, and in particular continue to support the safety net, the social safety net. I want to quickly touch on FDI, and I think it's important for us all to understand why foreign direct investment is important and remains important for our country. Like we saw earlier, it's a key job creator. We know from, and I think our colleague here from Morongo can perhaps tell us much more about it than I could, but we know that these international companies also support and create local supply chains. It also helps us to substitute domestic production for imports, or rather the other way around. So in other words, we rather use a local product than use an imported product. It helps us to absorb technology into the economy. Regional development, and hence the reason I think this mission is here today, is to make sure that not only the people of the larger towns, and in particular Windhoek benefits, but that our regions in particular benefit from continued investment. And then, of course, infrastructure development, which is a very important factor to consider. So the question everyone always asks us is, how do we get more out of FDI? In other words, how can local communities benefit from FDI? How can the country benefit from FDI? And of course, when we look at all of these factors, I'll highlight a few from this slide. So proactively direct and support investment into regions. And I think when we look at many of the, especially mining projects, they're predominantly in Ironga region, but we also see other regions now starting to benefit from mining. Of course, it inculcates a culture of learning and in particular experience through internships and apprenticeships. And government has that scheme in place, and we also encourage investors in particular to work with young people and in particular local institutions employ young people in these roles. And of course, to build and incorporate local businesses and SMEs into value chains and supply chains. But this might sound, oh, well, you know, what do I know about, for example, the mining industry? But we know that the mining industry, like many other complex industries, use many services and many goods. And I think as we slowly awaken as a nation to these opportunities, we will continue to also benefit from less and also more complex opportunities. Sorry, and then one thing I need to highlight is the investment into research and development. So we often, through not only investment through these companies, but also through the governments of these companies that invest in Namibia, we see commitment to research and development, but also into working with local communities. I want to, and I know this is what my colleague really wanted me to speak about, is NIPDB's response to local businesses and MSME needs. It's one of the areas that we've been really focusing on over the past 24 months in particular. And so when you look at the two columns, so the red column is obviously business need. So we've introduced Scale Up Namibia and also investment propositions, as well as so-called 100 small ideas for businesses. One of the most common inquiries we get at the board on a daily basis is, I'd like to start a business, but I have no idea where to start. And I think it's not unusual. We don't all know everything. And so these, in particular, these three initiatives has been very successful, and we've seen many young people take those opportunities, take that research we've done, and we work with them for them to develop further their opportunity further. We also know that you know, although we only 3.1 million people, this is a country of vast open spaces, and so to that effect, we also know that not only investors, but also local Namibian investors, international investors, but also local Namibian investors continually ask around land directory or access to certain types of land for their investment. We are now in the process of finalizing an online land directory. So for, in particular, supporting local authorities and I also want to say kind of non-traditional purveyors of land, and to support their initiatives for their particular projects as well. Of course, increased and enhanced engagement with traditional authorities, and working with the Ministry of Fisheries, Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Land Reform, as well as NIDA at a one-stop center to support land access and all the regulation in particular that goes with land access. And lastly, but quite importantly, we've commenced a process approximately 18 months ago where we work with regional councils and chief regional officers in particular to establish regional investment committees. So where we work with local business to identify not only opportunities, but also to support these projects that arise from the work these committees do. In terms of capital and investment, so we do regular calls, twice a year in fact, for investment projects, which we then, of course, work with the project owners, make them market ready and then to promote them. We also profile these particular investments on our website and also in a catalogue, which we use on our promotion missions. And then, of course, the posting of investment and export promotion attachés at select missions abroad. So we use all the information we create and, of course, the marketing material we create, and we use these people through our embassies, through Namibia's embassies internationally to especially market slightly larger projects. And then lastly, of course, investment and business guide, you can find that for free on our website. It's also a document that evolves all the time. We add information and projects to those projects on a continuous basis. Then maybe to just touch on the last two, so on skills for trade and economic diversification, we're currently running a project with the International Labour Organization, the same for youth and the tax incentive program, and then promoting study and apprenticeships opportunities abroad. And then, of course, general and industry skills reports, which are made available to market participants. Then I think lastly, and it kind of touches on the work the Minister referred to, is of course the Meet the Buyer program. So we also support especially small and medium-sized companies to introduce them to potential buyers of their products. The posting of, next one, productivity task forces. So productivity task forces are a platform where we bring government and the private sector together, and where, in particular, where there are constraints in a particular sector, where those constraints are resolved, and we hopefully then get to a conclusion by, as I said, resolving those, and in particular, then increasing the productivity of that specific sector. So an example of that is for example the beef sector, the high value fruit sector, and we've recently commenced also work on automotive components manufacturing. Then I think I would like to also refer you then to our website, where there's a number of resources, especially in the startup and entrepreneurship support space. Like I also said, we can profile your and promote your project on our website. So it is, you simply go to the website and you can follow the instructions from there. But effectively, your project will appear as a little number on that map, and it makes it quite easy then for investors to navigate around the country. I must say, I think maybe this region hasn't been as active as we've seen in many others. So I really would like to encourage you to, if you feel that you need some support in marketing your project, to look at the website or speak to myself or my colleague afterwards. And then I think I don't want to keep you too long because I'm out of time. But I think lastly, and because there are quite a few young people in this room, what I also want to note to kind of draw your attention to is the scholarship opportunities on our website. So there's in fact a data hub, or an information hub rather, on our website as well. It's really time well worth spending. We do collate and collect, especially foreign work opportunities, but also scholarship opportunities from across the government sector ecosystem, and as well as other partners that do work in country, and it's really worthwhile having a look there. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Francois. I know you have shortened it, and there will still be opportunity if you want to get to know more. After the official part, there will be opportunity for networking, and then you can approach us. Next up is the presentation from NAMRA, and I think it's Ms. Saya Shivandu that will do the presentation from NAMRA for us.
Let me acknowledge the presence of Honorable Selma Mushavi, the Minister of International Relations and Trade. And equally, let me just respect the protocol that's already observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Saya Shivandu, and I'm from Namibia Revenue Agency. Division Technical Services and Management, and I'm from Subdivision Rules of Origin. And what is our role in this agreement? We are providing support on technical during trade negotiation. We make sure that this agreement is well implemented, and also we are registering companies that want to export under various trade agreements, including this AfCFTA agreement. And also we are capacitating customs officials as well as traders. And in my presentation, I will talk about what is rules of origin, because before you trade, you have to negotiate rules of origin. What is rules of origin, why it is important, and also I will talk about how to determine the criterion for your product to be qualified to trade under trade agreement. I will also talk about exporter registration, what requirements do the exporter need, as well as how to issue a certificate of origin. What are rules of origin? According to this agreement, rules of origin are those set of criteria and conditions used to determine whether the goods are traded under a state party, that is, whether they are qualified to be regarded as originating. Rules of origin are those rules and regulations that determine the economic nationality of a product. Also, rules of origin are those rules that assess whether the products are eligible for duty-free or reduced duty under the trade agreement rules. Why rules of origin important? Rules of origin are necessarily defined that have those requirements that the product must meet in order to claim originality of the product within the free trade area. They are there, or they are important to assess if the product meets the criteria for preferential in order for sum of duty to be reduced. They are there to promote industrialization, value addition, as well as economic diversification. How to determine goods under AfCFTA? We have two criteria to determine the originality of the product: wholly obtained and as well as substantial transformation. What is wholly obtained? Wholly obtained are those goods that are naturally occur, born, grow, or extracted from Namibia, like our grapes, our milk, our beef, our fish, etc. Those are under wholly obtained. Similarly, we have also this fishing industry sector. Our fish are determined in terms of their vessel and their factory. Let's say in their vessels, it is applying to those vessels, leased vessels, and factory ship. It must be registered in Namibia according to the national laws of the country. And that vessel must have a Namibian flag. And at least for the fish to qualify, you have to meet one of these conditions. Either 50% of crew member or 50% of officers who are in the vessel, or 40% in the crew member, as well as those 50% for shareholding. Now I'm going to the next criterion, which is substantially transformation. These processes, the products which are not wholly obtained, you source it from different countries, you process it sufficiently worked, and then they will be qualified. And they have to meet this specific, they have to meet a specific criteria like specific processes, change in tariff heading, value added, and non-originating materials. For example, for substantial transformation in specific processes, let's say you import a diamond, a raw diamond, you further process it, and then the final product will be considered as originating according to AfCFTA rules of origin. Substantial transformation or in change in tariff heading. In this case, you import grapes. Let's say you import grapes, and then you transform, you process it, and then the final product is wine. So meaning that your product is qualified because it's changing in the tariff heading. When you import as a grape, and then when you export it as a wine. Are we together? Here we are talking about substantial transformation in value addition. You import let's say you import a product which is not finished, and then you bring it here. Let's say maybe you import, let's say maybe a sauce, just part of this part. You add this part, you add solar, you add everything. But that value addition which you add, it must be within. It must not. It must be exceed a certain threshold. Now we are talking about the substantial transformation for non-originating materials. You source your raw materials from different member states, and you come up with a final product. But that amount which you add to that product, it must not exceed a certain threshold. And all the rules and all the products are having different rules of origin. Some they said you must not exceed 50%. Some they said you must not exceed 70%. It's according to the product. Application processes. All the manufacturer, producer, and exporter are required to register with NAMRA section rules of origin. You complete a manual application form and provide the required information. NAMRA will conduct a site verification at the exporter premises to assess the manufacturer processes according to the origin criteria. And those products will be categorized under the right origin criterion, which is wholly obtained or substantially transformation. The exporter will be registered to trade under AfCFTA and will be issued approval letter with a unique identification number for a specific company. Let's just give it a time a bit. It's still coming. Okay. What do you need? What are the requirements to export? Exporters are required to submit these following documents together with their application. We need a company registration certificate. Some they call it founding statement. That one you get it from BIPA. We need a brief company profile, just in short, where you include the mission of your company, the vision, which product do you want to export, when did your company established, just in short. We need also export permit if your product requires permit. We need proof of right holding, and this one normally is for the vessels. If you have a vessel, we need proof of right holding. We need proof of identity, either a passport or the Namibian ID, or any identification which identify you in case if there's a problem or you run away, NAMRA will follow that person. We need certificate of good standing with NAMRA. Where's the other one? At least you must in good standing with us. You have to attach also producer or a supplier declaration in case if you are not a producer or a manufacturer of that product which you want to export. You need a producer or a supplier declaration. I want to give example for this one. Maybe those small companies, they will complain that we are excluded. Let's say maybe you go to Walfish Bay, you bought your fish from Tunaco. You take this producer declaration to Tunaco. Tunaco put their stamp to prove that yes, this product is from our company. And then you attach that producer declaration to your application form, and then you approve to export under this AfCFTA agreement. We need manufacturing processes or sketches for the manufacturers. All the stages, you have to mention it there, until to the final stage of the product. And all of these requirements, you have to meet 5 requirements. If you are not a manufacturer, we need a company registration, brief company profile. If your product needs a permit, you need a permit. If you are not a manufacturer, then you put a producer declaration. You just have to give us 5. Now we are at certificate of origin, issuance. Certificate of origin will be issued by competent authority, which is NAMRA, at our regional offices and point of exit. The exporter will fill in all necessary details on the certificate in accordance with SAD 500. It's not responsible for the customs official to complete the certificate of origin. It's the responsible for the exporter to complete that certificate of origin. NAMRA customs official will authenticate the certificate with a signature and the stamp. And then you will get your certificate. That's how the certificate look like. Call it certificate of origin. Thank you.
Can we give another round of applause to NAMRA? Now we know how the certificate of origin works. Ganesha, thank you. We are almost there. We have one more presentation to listen to, and then thereafter we will close the open session. We want to thank our viewers. I am getting text and comments, so there is proof that people are watching, so we want to thank you very much, and in the same vein, we want to thank the NBC for bringing this engagement to those at home as well. The next presentation is by Mr. Oscar Festus, and he is from the Ministry of Industries and Mines and Energy. Mr. Oscar.
Director of Ceremonies permits me to respectively greet all the esteemed guests present today. Good afternoon. Yes, as I was introduced, my name is Oscar Festus. I'm from the Ministry of Industries, Mines and Energy under the Directorate of Industrial Development. For today, I will give you a brief presentation on what our ministry does to empower or develop our MSMEs and manufacturers. My presentation is clustered in 3 phases. The first one is MSMEs, followed by special economic zones, and the last one, the third one, is a special economic zone framework. As we are aware, MSME is a backbone of the economy. Therefore, 98% of our enterprises in Namibia are MSMEs. MSMEs, they contribute to job creation and also to economic growth of our country. They also play a role in diversification, innovation in our national economy. However, they are also faced with some challenges. Those challenges are access to finance, access to market, access to sophisticated or technologies, and also a lack of skills on how to run their business successfully. Institutional roles in MSME development. We have 2 institutions which are responsible or are tasked to ensure that we develop our MSMEs. The first one is our ministry, which is responsible for developing and implementing the policies, strategies, and also method to industrialize our country. And the second one is Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board. They also have programs which are earmarked to support MSMEs, programs in the field of capacity building, access to finance, as well as access to markets. So when you want to access international, regional, or other markets, or even local markets, NIPDB can also assist you in that regard. Our ministry, we have programs which are earmarked to support our MSMEs. The most common one is Equipment Aid Scheme. This program is to provide machineries to our MSMEs so that they can enhance their production capacity and also produce quality products which can survive in a competitive market. We want our MSMEs to move into a semi-industrial scale, whereby they are producing products which can not only survive locally, but can also go internationally. Another program is, we call it IUMP, Industrial Upgrading and Modernization Program. This program, we want to say it's more of those MSMEs who are a bit advanced, and they are ready to adapt the utilization of advanced technology. It also assists with to improve productivity and also to produce quality products which can be exported and will also be able to survive in those international markets because it will face tough competitions from other products as well. Under this program as well, we also want to strengthen our MSMEs to be able to participate in the value chains. So we want to mainstream them in the value chain of producing products. And we support them through under this program. Other programs for capacity building, I don't have them here projected, but we do have garments cutting and polishing, the one we did in Caribbean. And this one, the graduation will take place on the 23rd. We have 52 students which completed the course successfully, and it will be officiated by our minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Natangwe Ithete, on the 23rd in Caribbean. We are also envisaged for another program, Youth Fund Program. This program is dedicated to the youth enterprises, the enterprises which are owned by the youth. It will provide financing, mentorship, and also market linkage. It will also encourage innovation, the use of digitalization. Remember, we are in, I don't know whether we are still in fourth industrial revolution or we moved to the fifth, but digitalization is now taking all over. And we also want our entrepreneur to be green, to green industrialization. When they are producing their products, we want them to take into consideration the environment. And if you, I think you are aware, or maybe if you are not aware, the EU have developed some standards for environments to be taken into consideration. So when you are exporting your products, it has to reach some standards for environment for it to be allowed in EU market. Other MSME support mechanism which we can offer, market access and trade facilitation. This one we work in collaboration with Ministry of International Relations and Trade. We are trying to link you to African Continental Free Market, which is a big market, and your product, if you can survive there, then you will be able to grow your enterprise. Another program which we can offer is business services, where we offer trainings and incubation. We also develop policies and regulatory advocacy for easy formalization. In this, for formalization, we are talking of informal sectors. Even though I don't have a slide which talks about informal sector, we are also taking them into consideration that we would give them support to allow them to transit from informality into formality. And we also developed a policy, National Informal Economy Startup and Enterprises Development, which has some of the incentives on how we can assist our informal sector. Inclusive and sustainable SME growth. When our SME grow, they prioritize of women, youth, and rural entrepreneurship. We are also offering support to the youth, women, and the entrepreneurship which are based in rural areas. We also promote green and climate smart MSMEs. We want them to be green because we also want to green industrialization to be, is one of our core mandates. We also linked MSMEs with large investments, and we also put them into the value chain or assist them to participate in the value chain of productivity. How does the future look like for MSMEs? By 2030, at the end of our Vision 2030, we are projecting that MSME will be able to produce more than 100,000 sustainable jobs. Yes, and this one, we even gave our input when we were giving input on our National Development Plan, NDP 6, which we heard today that Her Excellency will launch it in 2 days to come. We give projection that our MSMEs will be able to produce more than 100,000 jobs. We are also looking to strengthen the collaboration or coordination between our ministry and NIPDB. We don't want to work in silos, whereby NIPDB, they are providing training for standards. Here, the ministry, they are also doing the same. So we are trying to cut or to avoid duplication of work. Expand access to finance and technology, as well as regional market. We want our MSME to be able to participate in African Free Continental Trade Area and also to the other international market. The second one is Namibia Special Economic Zone Framework. Why is Namibia a Special Economic Zone? This one is to drive industrialization, economic diversification. In the same vein, it's also attract foreign and domestic investment. We are not only looking at foreign direct investment here, we also want our own people to take part and be able to invest so that they can also alleviate poverty. It also encourages job creation, skills transfer, and they can also link MSME or small, medium enterprises. This special economic zone is a replacement of the export processing zones. The export processing zone is expiring on the 31st of December 2025. Then afterwards, we can launch the special economic zone. Yes. Yeah, in 2022, August, the National Special Economic Zone Policy and incentives list were approved by the Cabinet. And in August 2023 and to June 2024, we have been doing consultation on Special Economic Zone Bill. So this one was a very intense consultation because we have been drafting and we've been sent back by the Cabinet that now we need to do another extra consultation. During 2024 budget statement, the 20% corporate tax rate was approved under Special Economic Zone for those companies who are operating under Special Economic Zone. And we are looking for 2025 December, where export processing zone will end and we launch Special Economic Zone. Why a Special Economic Zone? What are Special Economic Zone, I mean? Those are designated areas with special regulatory and fiscal regimes. They facilitate trade, investment, and industrial clusters. And what are we looking beyond export processing zone? More sectors will be developed, broader incentives, and better governance. When we are talking of special economic zone, we didn't just come up with it without benchmarking from other countries, from the successful country. So we got the case studies from other countries who implemented it effectively, and those countries are Mauritius, Rwanda, and UAE. Special economic zone incentive packages. The corporate tax rate is 20% for those investors in that special economic zone. Customs and VAT exemption for approved goods. Some goods will not be will be tax-free. Accelerate depreciation and capital allowances. And there's more skill development and also green industrial support. So there will be some of the support when your company is more into green industry. When they are producing their products. These are strategic areas or locations in special economic zone. We have Walvis Bay Logistics and Trade Hub. We have Windhoek Manufacturing and Services Cluster, Northern Agro Processing Hubs, and they are all linked to Walvis Bay Port and regional corridors. Special economic zone investment opportunity. There is renewable energy and green hydrogen, agro-processing, and food industries, mineral beneficiation and battery manufacturing, ICT, logistics, and also African Continental Free Trade platforms. Those are the opportunities which you can find under special economic zones. Governance and transition. Special economic zone bill informed by the national consultation, strong governance for transparency and investor confidence, a shameless transition from special economic zones to to export processing zone to special economic zone by 2025 in December. And designated or designed for global competitiveness and local impact. How can we anchor MSME to special economic zone? How can we connect them? The synergy. Special economic zone create industrial cluster and market demand for MSMEs. MSMEs can supply goods and services into special economic zones. When those big companies who are in special economic zone, they might require some of the components which will be produced by our MSMEs. That's what we are saying when we are saying we are linking them through value chains. Jointly drive job creation, skill transfer, and also local content. Local content, we want our people also to take part in a special economic zone. We want our people to be able to produce things there in special economic zone so that we cannot only allow investors from other countries while we have our own people who are not taking part. That's what we mean by local content. Enhance African Continental Free Trade competitiveness for all enterprises sizes, which include or inclusive of MSMEs. Together for Namibia, next growth chapter, MSMEs, inclusive growth, and innovation. It's where you find innovation in SMEs. Special economic zone, a way to achieve large-scale industrial investment and trade. And with that brief presentation, I thank you, and we will engage during the engagement session.
Thank you. Can we give him another round of applause, please? And that brings us to the end of the official session on presentations. We will quickly move into the vote of thanks. And after the vote of thanks, we shall rise for the singing of the AU and national anthems. And then thereafter, we shall excuse our media partners. And after that, we go into the Q&A session, where you get it off the chest. Yeah. Good, so let me start with the vote of thanks. Firstly, to the Minister of International Relations and Trade. Minister, for being here with us throughout this session. I know I was just checking something, and one of the ministers posted there that His Excellency has given all the civil servants afternoon off today, but you are still here. So you are still serving us. So we want to thank you. Your presence is showing your commitment to this process to see, and your commitment to the cause as well. Equally, I want to thank our governor of the region. The minister indicated that you are a servant leader. You have a double up today. Earlier in the day, you had your State of the Region address, and here you are again, also showing some servant leadership there. We appreciate your presence as well and your inputs that you've made. Equally, we want to thank the Deputy Mayor for welcoming us warmly to the town of Otjiwarongo. I also want to thank all the presenters, both from MIRT, NIPTB, MIMES, that's the Ministry of Industries and Mines, NAMRA as well, very lively presentation there. So we want to thank all the presenters. We want to thank all the leaders, business leaders that are present here, political leaders that are present here, traditional leaders that are here, community leaders. Without you, this session would not have been possible. So we want to thank you all for making time. It's a Friday afternoon, but the hall is still packed. So we do appreciate you being here. Our viewers online, you are not forgotten. Thank you for tuning in. And while at it, we want to thank our media partner, the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation, for streaming this event to all four corners of the country. I'm just reminded also, for feedback purposes, there's a QR code that we need to scan. As you are entering, I think on the table there, the QR code was there. I'm sure it will also be projected. While we are busy with the Q&A session, you can scan and provide us with feedback so that we can help, or you can help us to improve how we can serve you. Yeah, so that basically is it. Yeah, so there will be a slight variation in terms of how we are going to proceed. We are going to take a break to allow members of the media to excuse us, and after that, we will go straight into the Q&A session, and only after that, we will do the AU and national anthem. All right? Good. With that, thank you very much, colleagues from the media. We will excuse you now.
Good day, Namibia. My name is Milani van der Merwe. I am 16